Now, Hard Facts
with Kimberly.
Hard Facts.
Thank you for staying tuned into the talk station 95.1 Nigeria Info. 18 minutes to the top of the hour. And I mentioned earlier on that I'll have a guest join me after the news at the bottom of the hour to talk about young people, youth, policies, youth and governance, and to talk about the Commonwealth Youth Council. Now, I remember some time back, we put up a picture where we're saying, wow, a Nigerian has become the chairperson of the Commonwealth Youth Council. And a lot of people were impressed. Yeah, we have Nigerians in diaspora, Nigerians back home who are doing well and leading in different areas. And we're glad to have the chairperson, Commonwealth Youth Council, with us in the studio this Monday afternoon. His name Ahmed Adamu. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Yeah, and I must admit that you look a lot younger in person than what the pictures on Google.
I don't know which ones you have a look at so far. Anyway.
All right. You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Kimberly.
So, has it been like being the chairperson of the Commonwealth Youth Council? And at that, you also tell us what the Commonwealth Youth Council, for people who do not know much about it.
Yeah, first of all, my name is Ahmed Adamu, as you mentioned, the president of the Commonwealth Youth Council. The Commonwealth Youth Council is the official voice of over 1.2 billion young people from across the 53 Commonwealth nations. So it speaks and represents and works for the young people in the Commonwealth. So we have over 1.2 billion young people, and it's the largest youth-led network in the world. And you can imagine the diversity of the Commonwealth, where we have 6 continents. We have the Africa, Europe, Asia, Pacific, Caribbean, and Americas. All these Commonwealth nations, they span across these continents, and that's why we are the largest youth-led network in the world. And we play an integral role of advancing youth development agenda in the Commonwealth. And for the first time, young people now are recognized in the Commonwealth. We sit on the table alongside head of governments when they are deciding about policy priorities, financial investments. We sit with them to also bring about youth development issues that we think concern the young people. So we have mandate by the young people. After every 2 years, we have a meeting we call Commonwealth Youth Forum, where young people meet and discuss their own problems and issues, and they come up with recommendations. So these recommendations serve as a mandate for us, we the elected members of the Commonwealth Youth Council. So it's our duty to make sure that what the young people want are delivered. We have to reach out to the heads, policy makers, government officials, to make sure that they do what the young people are saying they want. So, for the, like I said, we are the pioneer set of the Commonwealth Youth Council. I'm the first ever. I'm the first ever person to be elected in this position. And as an African, as a Nigerian...
Let's start with the sheke. That a Nigerian happened to be the first person, the first chairperson of the Commonwealth Youth Council. So it's a big deal for us.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it means a lot because the whole world is looking up to us. If we will really perform in this position, if we perform well, then the whole world will say Nigeria or Nigerians are well. And that serves as a testimony, or rather an endorsement for future generation who might aspire to become something in the future. And the world will remember that once a time there was someone who led the Commonwealth Youth Council and he has done well, and that's serve as a recommendation for future generation to come.
Okay, just before we dwell on what it is you have done since you came into, I can use into power, right? Because it is a position of authority on its own.
Yes.
Because a lot of countries are involved in this, young people from around the world. I'm curious though, how did it happen? You need to be a student of an institution or what, for people who are really curious also?
No, in the Commonwealth, we define a young person as someone between the age of 15 to 30. Okay. So as long as you fall within this age bracket, then they are qualified to contest. The position of the chairperson is now zoned to Africa and Europe.
Okay.
So it's going to be rotated across the 6 continents. There is a zoning process. So the chairperson position will not come back to Africa until after 8 years. And even if it come back to Africa, it might go to Europe or any other African country. So this is really a very good opportunity for Nigeria.
Okay, well, it is impressive that you have Africa and Europe in the same zone, and an African
has outcompetes the Europeans. Exactly.
It usually doesn't work that way before now, but
so it's a sign of maybe paradigm change.
Yeah.
The younger generations are now living to the expectations. So we are now on our toes. The competition that our forefathers or the former generation, the older generation couldn't have lived to or couldn't do, we are now doing it. So I think we're having a new change in our generation.
Oh, yes, we are. And I'm sure you must have impressed them enough. Because it's not about wanting an African to be there. It's wanting an African who is capable.
Exactly.
To be there. And you must have... literally stolen their hearts with your presentation and all. Exactly. Now let's look at it. You've been the chairperson since 2013. November 2013, and the tenure is supposed to
finish this year, November.
So it's 2 years.
2 years
as the chairperson.
Yes.
Okay. In this one and a half year thereabout, what have you been up to really in your capacity as chairperson?
Yeah, we have done quite a lot. Being the pioneer chairperson, I think is a daunting task. People will not judge you according to the foundation because the foundation is on the ground. People will always judge you according to the height of the building. So first of all, we are able to put a very solid foundation, set up the institution, and also create networks and contacts, and also engage in partnerships, develop what you call the strategic plan, which is going to be like a guideline towards our project and programs that we are going to do across the Commonwealth nations. Okay. And in terms of building the financings and the funds of the council, we already have contributions and support from head of governments. Every head of government is contributing toward the work of the Commonwealth Youth Council. And apart from building the institution, building the secretariat, employing the staff, all these kind of foundation arrangements, we're able to do quite a lot of projects. Right now, we are spearheading a campaign for stand-alone goal for young people in the post-2015 development framework. Now, the Millennium Development Goals are expiring this year. So we are going to have a new goals, new targets, and new indicators. So what we are saying is, let's have young people as priority in these goals, because if we don't have young people in these goals, that means that it's not going to be investment, because these goals are going to determine where investment will be going. So what we are saying, let's have a stand-alone goal for youth development and participation in governance and process of decision making. And it's one of our first mandates. Then in terms of peace and reconciliation, we are advocating and working toward ensuring social cohesion across the Commonwealth nations. And one of the projects we launch toward achieving this is the Youth Campaign Against Election Violence, which we have done in some Commonwealth nations, and especially in Nigeria. That's where we kickstart the campaign during the last general election in the country. And it has been very successful. We appointed ambassadors and marshals in every state and local government.
Oh, really?
And because of the work we have done, we have invested so much. This year's election has been relatively the most peaceful election ever in the history of this country. So the credits
if we're
goes
talking
to
the
young
presidential
people.
One.
Yeah,
because the state in some areas, we won't let us steal from the success of the election, but some areas where...
Yeah, I believe the young people have contributed so much through the Youth Campaign Against Election Violence. And we come up with so many programs and way of supporting our member organizations. The Commonwealth Youth Council do not have individual memberships from young people. Everyone who comes to us, we say, okay, go and come as an organization. Okay. So we are dealing with youth organizations.
Oh, great.
First of all, the National Youth Council made up the primary members of the Commonwealth Youth Council. Then we have other youth-led organizations and civil society organizations working for the young people across the Commonwealth. So we give them support. We partner with them to deliver their own project. We are doing a lot of advocacy in terms of youth participation and involvement in governance and in politics as well. And especially in terms of economic opportunities. Young people have been suffering from unemployment. Nowadays, young people are 3 times more likely to be poor. They are 4 times likely to be unemployed. And this is the first time we're having this kind of plight in the younger generations. So what we're trying to do is to advocate for more opportunity for the young people. And any issues that affect the young people, we come out and speak on behalf of the youth as well. So, and we're trying to see that we strengthen the National Youth Councils. Their structures and their framework is well strengthened, and we have a harmonized
because
structure.
We've had issues with the National Youth Council.
Especially in Nigeria.
So
there's been a lot of politics in some of the other National Youth Councils in some African countries or in some developing world, if I can say. So what we're trying to do is how can we help these National Youth Councils to work effectively, because at the Commonwealth Youth Council, we cannot work effectively if we don't have a stronger national youth councils. It's through them that we can work in every country. But in Nigeria now, we don't have a united youth voice. So the young people in Nigeria are scattered. They don't have direction. And there is no better time for Nigerian young people to be more united than now. And now we are lacking it. So we are still doing our best. We'll not relent. We'll make sure that before we finish our tenure, the young people will come together as one. And we are going to give grants. We have some funds. And before I leave office, I will make sure that we use these funds to develop the young people, to empower them. And what we are going to do now is we are going to call for application or call for or interest. You know, if you have projects aligned with youth strategic plan by the Commonwealth Youth Council, you can apply for projects. I will give you money to do it. So I don't think we'll be able to do more in a country because we have 53 Commonwealth nations. Maybe, for example, in a country, we can pick 1 or 2, 3 organizations and give them some funds to do their project as well. And because this year is the year for young people. Every year in Commonwealth, we have a theme.
A theme for the year.
So this year, we call it a young Commonwealth. So every priority now is on the young people. So whatever we do, we make sure that the interests of the young people are protected.
But really looking at Africa, at the demographic, we have a lot more young people. And I think it's a good thing that emphasis is being placed on young people.
We try to recognize young people who are doing excellently well in different areas. That's why we are publishing a book we call Commonwealth Young Achievers. And this will serve as inspiration and motivation to the young people who are doing excellently well. And I believe the Nigerian young people are now motivated, and now we have instilled in them a sense of pride that if a Nigerian can rise and be in this position, then we, other Nigerians, we can be anything we want to be. So this is alone is an achievement, especially to the young people in the country.
We saw it when it was announced and your picture was on blogs. A lot of young Nigerians were impressed by the fact that a young man from Katsina is the chairman of the Commonwealth Youth Council. So I saw a lot of inspired people from your story who said, yes, it's obvious that we can achieve a lot from Africa.
Yeah, and most particularly in Nigeria, the young people, I think, are somehow neglected or rather not involved or included in the process of decision making. And that's why currently we are advocating for defined roles for the young people in the government.
In Nigeria.
And that's why we are strongly calling for 30% affirmative action for youth participation in governance. The role of the young people in the last election is unbelievable, is phenomenal. And young people, they endured all the hardships to make sure that their voices are heard. And that was a time when they are relevant during the elections. And after elections, you see that young people are no longer relevant. The only way young people can make ourselves relevant is when we come together as a powerful voice, united together, stronger. And then we can make ourselves relevant. Now young people cannot speak and the leaders listen. We cannot, because we are not united. If I speak A, another person will come and speak B.
Group will come up,
but if you speak A and everybody stand by it, then we can influence decisions. But if we are not united, then we are absolutely irrelevant. There is huge gap between the young people and their leaders. You see a young person with brilliant idea want to sell it to the government, and he cannot even meet with a minister, talk less of a president. The leaders, the presidents, the ministers are all at top level. Before you reach them, it's going to take years.
Go through a lot,
This is you don't find this in other developed worlds. So the young people need to get themselves united first, so that they can approach the leaders, so that they can ask leaders. You know, there was a time when young people can raise their voices and a minister be removed.
Oh yeah.
Yes, young people, if we are united, we can bring down a government, we can promote a government. If a government is not doing what we want, now the unemployment rate is been increasing at increasing rates, and we are not doing anything about it. And we are the future generations. Look at the past. In the history of these nations, the young people have been very instrumental in this country's independence. If you look at our past leaders, they were relatively 30s, 40s when they led this country. And now, for the first time, someone at the age of 70 become a president of Nigeria. We have never had someone who is as old as 70 being a president of Nigeria. We have never had someone who is 60-year-old as a president. Joanna Obasanjo. Obasanjo was the first person who passed the age of 60 to become president in Nigeria. Yeah. Buhari is the first person who passed the age of 70 to become and these people, they have ruled at relatively below the age of 40. And now, how many young people are playing active role at central government that can even potentially come back in the future to aspire for positions? We are not saying that the older generation should not participate in politics. We need them because we need to transfer some ethical values and some experience to the younger generations. But if we have purely older generations alone, then what about the future generation? If you are training the young people to be better leaders, you have to involve them, you have to bring them together. And we are surprised, even in the transition committee, we have not seen young people involved. We have seen an 85-year-old person. We are not saying he should not be appointed.
Women were even complaining, just 2 women in the transition committee and then older people. No youth representation.
Even among the young people, we have, if you say young people, we mean the female and male. Anyone, as long as is below the age of 35, as defined in the Nigerian Youth Policy. So if we have Ahmed Joda as a chairman of the transition committee, let's bring young people, his children, so that he can tell them what he learned, what he knows, the experience, the ethical values that it used to be in the civil service before, so that they can learn the experience that he had before, which we are lacking now.
What do you think is responsible for this? Why young people are not carried along really?
I think the party and the president-elect is responsible, because they have the influence, they have the right to bring these young people. We have so many capable young people across Nigeria. You cannot say that over 80 million young people, we have qualified young people that will work together with these technocrats to learn and understand the way. You cannot just put young people as subcommittees. Why are we always subcommittees as technical assistants? We need to be at the table to make decisions that affect us. There is nothing for the youth without the youth. So we are surprised, and we hope that when setting this administration cabinet, we have 30% of these positions given to the young people.
Okay, we'll talk more about the 30% affirmative action that you're calling for after the news at the top of the hour.
Stay with your number one talk station wherever you go. Wherever you go. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info ABJ. Like our Facebook fan page, facebook.com/Nigeria Info Abuja.
Listen and watch us live on www.nigeriainfo.fm/Abuja. Chat with us on WhatsApp 080-999-30137. Follow us on Instagram.com/Nigeria Info FM.
Connect with us, stay in touch, and never miss the latest updates.
Only on 95.1 Nigeria Info. Nigeria Info, your number one news, sports, and talk station. Now, Hard Facts with Kimberly. Hard Facts.
All right, 8 minutes after 4, my guest Ahmed Adamu, the chairperson, Commonwealth Youth Council, is still with me here in the studio, and we're talking about youth development, youth in governance, and looked at the role of the Commonwealth Youth Council. And you mentioned 30% affirmative action before the news at the top of the hour. I know women had their strong campaign for 35% affirmative action. It paid off because this administration brought in a lot of women, and women really sat on powerful positions, though there was some criticism following some of the women and some of their offices. But we would say women came and they impressed to a certain extent. Now, if you're asking for 30% for young people, that's a tricky one. No? If we're going by 18 to 35 or 18 to 30 definition of the youth in Nigeria, what are you asking for?
We're asking for 30%. We are 60% proportion of the Nigerian population. 60%. And this 60% of Nigerian population are asking for only 30% of positions. This is too meager, too small to ask for. But let's start somewhere, and that's what we are saying. What we are saying. And when we look at the Constitution, you see that the constitutions has somehow limited the young people's participation in governance or in leadership, or rather in politics. Now, a young person can never be a governor. A young person can never be a senator. And a large proportion, more than 80% of young people in Nigeria cannot be ministers. Because before you can be a minister, you have to be a 30-year-old person, which is a requirement for a member of House of Representatives. And you are taking from 18, people from the 18 to 30 years, they are all excluded. These people, they are active people when it comes to democratic institutions. They are the large proportion of the voters. And they are the ones who made these governors. But they cannot be elected or being part of the decision-making. So there is a gap in here. That's why we said we must get it. And it's not negotiable. We are not going to accept anything below 30. If the women, they fought for it and they got it, then we must get it.
In Nigeria. Let's compare and contrast. Since you're well traveled, compare Africa, Nigeria to what we have in Europe or other even African countries.
Go to Zambia. The Minister of Youth Development is 28-year-old person. Go to Hungary. A Foreign Affairs Minister is 28-year-old person. We have in Nigeria someone who is 26-year-old as a Minister of Petroleum. We have a 22-year-old person as a governor before, Rivers State.
Back
then. So why should Constitution now say these young people have been very useful to the nation, now we don't want them in the leadership process? This is not fair to the young people. And if we really need to train the young people, we have to create space for them. We have to bring them forward. And we have seen in other countries, look at Obama. Obama became president at the age of 44. Now, UK, they're going to have election. And look at their presidential candidates. They're relatively young people. They're not after 50. And these candidates, they have held positions before, which means at their younger ages, they have been prepared. So we need to prepare the young people to take up the country from the older generations. So we are saying that let's sit on the table, give us this 30% before we go to the straight. Because we don't want to protest. Let's do negotiation now. Amicably, we get what we want. But if the government wants us to go to the street and start doing demonstration all around the country, which I believe the new administration will not want that, then we must be given that. And we will not allow politics to influence the decision in governance, because politicians or people in one party cannot rule a country. This country is made of people who are partisans, non-partisans, that's not neutral people, and even people who are don't care about anything. So politics, or even within the politics, a party must have emerged. So that particular party must not only include or involve members of that particular party. They have to also cater for other party members. They have interests. They are going to be ruled. They are going to be led. So their inputs, their voices matter as well, because you are going to lead them. And if you have to be the change you want to be, you have to carry everybody along. And we come up with so many brilliant policy programs and projects that this government can really do for the young people, toward the youth development issue. Now we have so many youth development intervention funds. You talk about UWIN, SUAP, YE, which is young people employment in agriculture. So many interventions, so many budgetary provisions for youth development. But they're all scattered. You have NDE, you have SMADEN, you have NAPEB. All these are scattered. Why can't we bring these funds together and have what we call Consolidated Youth Development Fund? And the Ministry of Youth, and I'm going to have a board members who will be allocating how these funds are going to be spent. And the Ministry of Youth Development will going to set strategy, priorities on youth development. Now, our first target, for example, we can say how to create job opportunities. The Ministry of Youth Development already said these priorities as will be guided by the young people themselves. And now, whoever wants to invest in young people, we have to come through the Ministry of Youth Development, because if you're a Minister of Agriculture, if you're a Minister of Finance, you don't know what the young people are saying. And how can you go and do your WIN program without coming to the Ministry of Youth Development and say you want to develop young people? You are bound to duplicate things. So we are going to have funds, and if we have these funds together, we can have more coverage and more efficiency. And the second issue is we need to have Youth Development Index. What is the status of young people in Nigeria? How many young people are unemployed, if I ask you? Even the Minister of Youth cannot tell you this. You see? Even the APC party cannot tell you how many people are unemployed. How many people are out of school? What are the average number of quality or people who have access to quality education? How many children are on the street? You don't have these indices. You need to compile these indices so that we know the state of the young people. And from there, you can set targets and say, if you have, for example, 40% of young people who could be employed are unemployable. So now we want to reduce this number to 20.
To 20%.
So you have set a target. But you need to know where you are now.
But if you don't know the figure, you don't know the number,
just
what are you working with?
Running around the bush. So we need to have index. And if you have this index, then we set targets. And if you set targets, then you come up with indicators. We all don't have all these things. The Ministry of Youth is being politicized. It's just politics. You're just thinking about how to promote a person or a party. If you are a Minister of Youth Development or SA Youth and Sport and SA Youth and Student, you have to talk about youth institution. You are no longer serving to protect the interests of a party or a person. And we have to change the mentality of our people in governance. And that's why we say we have to remove politics. We have to remove politicians out of governance.
But a lot of work needs to be done in this regard, seeing that even as the Youth Council in Nigeria is not a united body, we have NAN, which is student body, which have been politicized.
The government polarize that. They allow the young people to be scattered. You see a politician sponsoring someone saying, do not step down, you must be the one, we recognize you. They will also go back and say, we recognize the second person. So now in Nigeria, we have 4 different set of youth leaders. Who are you going to work with? And now they are banned from working. So the young people, they don't have direction. So we need to have also youth development center, a national youth development center, where young people, that center will be a hub where young people's productivity can be enhanced. There will be library in that. There will be a cyber cafe where young people can do browsing and print some other documents. There are hostels. You know, for example, so many young people who want to organize programs in Abuja, their major problem is how to bring delegates and accommodate them in Abuja. But if we have hostels in youth development centers, you can do programs and invite people, young people from across the country. They will come to Abuja, you put them in the hostels. We have seen this in other developed countries. And we have skills acquisition center. Within all this center, it's just a center where, incubation center, where you can breed so many young people with so many skills. And we're going to have an auditorium for events and seminars. And that's why we said we need to standardize the wage for small-scale laborers. More than 40% of young people who are unemployed engage in small-scale labor. And they are not protected. Sometimes they get cheated because they are powerless, they are weak. They need the money. For example, let me give you an example. A bricklayer, a young person who is a bricklayer, he has a job. He needs to be protected because he refused to carry arms and go to become a militant or a Boko Haram. He needs to be protected. What we can do for them is let us regulate how much these young people should be receiving. You see that if you bring a bricklayer now,
different from the minimum wage that we have going on, or up to that level?
Their on is differently regulated. Let me give you an example. If you bring a bricklayer, you say per number of hours he works, or for a particular load of work, you are going to give him 10,000 naira. This one is just standardized, is formalized. Everyone is aware of it. So if a young person comes to work for 1 hour, he knows that he's going to get 10,000 naira. So someone who finished from university, who do not have a job, can say, okay, I know if I spend 1 hour doing this job, or these skills, or a mechanic, or automobile mechanic, or plumber, or any kind of skills, 10,000 naira. So he already knows, he can imagine how much he's going to get if he has these skills. So he can get motivated and learn these skills so that he can set up a business that he will be getting some money. Sometimes if you don't have this regulation, yourself you can get cheated as someone who is a customer to these young people who engage in small-scale labor, because they look at you because you are rich, they will put double of that price. So you yourself, you are not protected. To protect the both sides, we need to regulate a fair wage for small-scale labor. And we're going to create pension for them. Young person from his younger age, he has been a bricklayer for over 40 years. And he become weak now. He is at home and nobody to help him. So if we have a pension scheme where he can contribute to that, if he has if he has this system, he can be supported.
I need to remind you, we're in Nigeria.
Yes, and everything is possible in Nigeria.
Okay.
Everything is possible in Nigeria.
Because
so we
it
have
sounds
to
very
be
ambitious, what you're saying, even with the pension scheme.
Yes, we have to be very ambitious in life.
Okay.
Because we don't know our capacity until we try. We cannot just keep telling ourselves we cannot do it. This is too big. We are human beings. As long as we can think about it, then we can do it. So we have youth policy as well, which articulates the youth issues and youth development structures and key stakeholders and address youth issues and opportunities. Since Obasanjo tenure, we have not had this policy reviewed. So we are saying that let's have this youth policy reviewed so that it will be a guideline for the ministries, both at national and state level, even local government level, into a youth development project. And we need to create job centers. You know, back in the UK, we have job centers. They don't only provide information about job opportunities. They will also counsel, give guidelines or guide young people who are looking for a job to get job opportunities. So also enhance sometimes how to do interview, training in that, presentation skills, those job centers. Sometimes young people, they don't have information about jobs. So a young person should know a place where if he walk in, even if he doesn't have internet on his phone, he can know about so many job opportunities, because so many jobs could be just by your door, but you don't know about it. So the Ministry of Youth should have these job development centers or job centers in this country. And we need to create a program which we call Employer Incentive Program. For example, now if a young person finishes NYC and his allowee finish, so he comes back home doing nothing. So what we are proposing is this particular person, let him be placed in an area or a place where he can learn some skills. Because if he acquires skills, he's enhancing his employability. So now the employer who is going to employ this person will say, I don't have money to pay for his stay for this period. So the government will say, we are going to pay 50% of his salary.
Okay.
You, employer, pay 50%. We, the government, will pay 50% for the period of 2 years or 1 year. If the employer, because of additional labor in the business, the job or the business will grow, and he could be able within this 1 year or 2 year to pay for this person, because the business has grown up because of additional labor as a factor of production. And even if he cannot employ him eventually, that person must have acquired additional skills that he can get himself easily employed, which you couldn't have had it before he get this job.
I think they tried that a little with the Shopee program, looking at the graduate internship scheme to a certain extent.
Well, that's almost similar, but it's not as extensive as this particular program. And it has been tried in so many other places, and it was very effective. And Shopee program, you're talking about 10 billion naira invested in the young people. Where are they? How many people were empowered? You cannot see it. There's no proper mechanism to checkmate whether these funds are used and the right people we are targeted and they benefited from it. And we don't have this. And agriculture is a very, very potential area or sector that can provide more than 60% of unemployed young people in Nigeria. What the government need to do is just to set up a processing plants for agricultural produce. And now ask every young person to bring any quantity of agricultural produce. Once you bring this quantity, the government will guarantee automatic purchase. Just like what they do to oil marketers. You ask oil marketer, bring fuel, I'll give you money. So any young person who brought any ton, for example, a ton of maize, will give you 50,000.
If the government can buy it off them and ensure that this can be sold,
automatic guarantee.
Yeah.
So I, as a young person who is unemployed, I know that if I'm sitting here, I will not get a job, I will not get money. But I know that if I go to farm and bring 1 ton of maize, I'll get 10,000 naira or 20,000 naira. So I know how to get money through agriculture. And there will be a collection center where young people will be bringing all these agricultural produce. So now we are creating jobs for the young people. And the processing plants will be used to process this agricultural produce, package them, and use them for export purposes. So you are building the economy, you are creating more job opportunities, and the government should provide land for the young people. For example, the government will provide a large size farm and ask any young person who wants to do farming, just apply for a space or a land. We'll give you free of charge. Go and harvest in that land and bring the agricultural produce. We buy it and we give you money back. All these are smart ways of creating.
So ways really to
exactly. There are so many other brilliant issues that we can, policy and programs that we can bring to the young people if we really mean business. And that's why the elderly people, they don't even know these issues. Cannot even think about what are the current challenges of the young people.
I think they know, but they don't know how to go around it.
But we know, as young people, we know it. And if we know it, that we have to be given the space to do all these kind of things. So for us, our challenge, I can say, is the unity among us. Because we have a naturally young person, you find him greedy and have a lot of ambition. But that's ambitions are what drives us into to being greedy. So my advice to the young people, first, it starts with us. Whatever we want, we can get it. But the one condition we need to have is that unity, and we have to put down all our personal interests. We have to have a particular voice that will be speaking on behalf of the young people, and all young people are paying allegiance and respect to this particular leadership structure. And through that, that's the beginning of everything. If we have leaders who will be speaking for us. I'm not supposed to be the one talking about 30% affirmative action in Nigeria. Because I'm leading 53 Commonwealth nations. So why am I particular about Nigeria? I am supposed to be talking to the national youth leader in Nigeria, telling him that go about this campaign. But everything now in Nigeria, people are looking after me as a Commonwealth chair. We don't have direction. No one is leading us in Nigeria. So that's why some people in other countries are saying that I'm being more Nigerian. So I need to maintain a right balance. But I know that I need to contribute. I need to use this opportunity to do much things for my country, because this is where I'm coming back. And I'm so passionate about my brothers and sisters back in Nigeria, to see that young people are better off, young people are living to the expectations. And particularly, unemployment and low quality education has been the major problem that have developed youth development in the country. And I see no reason why someone will have to go abroad to access quality education, while we have the resources invested in the education sector that, if utilized, we can have a similar standard of these international universities in Nigeria. Now, accessibility to quality education depends on how lucky you are. Access to quality education is a right. It need not to be to privilege or to lucky ones. And that's why we say number one priority is to get young people educated. You talk about China. China, they have the largest population in the world. But they are made of productive population. But if you put up unproductive population, you keep adding more unproductive. So they are becoming burden to the society, burden to the economy. They're not contributing anything, but they're taking in something. So we have more output than inputs. So that's why the economy is going down and going down. You cannot be deceived by the volume of GDP that they're talking about. A GDP that is controlled by very few people. And we cannot continue to empower the rich, but we empower the working class, the weaker ones. And that's the purpose of government. We need to also add more tax to the richer ones so that we can collect from them. They are all doing okay. Now, let's empower others. Let's share the resources. And that's the meaning of Commonwealth. If the world is common, let's share the wealth. So we have to empower the young people who are made of the productive force of this country. And they are the ones to push the country forward. So access to quality education is very, very paramount. Important. And someone was telling me that he learned something which he couldn't learn in 4 years in Sokoto. But now he learned this thing in one semester in Malaysia. And why is Malaysia? Nigeria, they are the ones who empowered Malaysia to become what they are. And if Malaysia can provide quality education or institutions, and to the extent that Nigerians travel
to Malaysia
to study. And while we are here, our institutions are left, just scattered without manpower, without facilities. It's so disheartening. I think we have a very huge responsibility, I think, in the area of education and employment opportunity. And the young people should not be deceived by being employed just as secretary, admin, or in civil servants. You may not be adding value to society. We should have a skill-based economy where young people or the labor force are doing productive things. They are adding value to the economy. Now, more than 80% of jobs, or rather 70, I don't have precise figure, but I know the larger proportion of jobs are provided by government.
Here in Nigeria.
In Nigeria.
Oh, yeah.
But if you look at UK, you see that if you look at UK classrooms, if you ask how many UK citizens are here, you barely see 1, 2, 3 of them. They're all out there doing business.
So foreigners
business ideas. It's only foreigners. Especially if you go to, especially Africans going there to study. So they're out there because they know that you don't need qualification. If you have the basic education, you are okay. You need to have the skills, the business idea, and the success of this business are what guarantee success or growth of an economy. So we need to transfer from a qualification-based economy or white-collar job-based economy to a skill-based economy in our country.
And that would take a lot of work to get there because the average graduate wants to get into civil service.
We cannot get everything easy.
Oh yeah.
We cannot ask ourselves what are the shortcuts. We cannot take shortcuts to success. We must endure. We must sacrifice, and we must believe we will get there. Countries that have developed, they have sacrificed. There are people who build it. We may not be the ones to enjoy this legacy, but we believe that we are protecting, we are giving our children a better future to live in. And if we are now suffering, we have to take the challenge. And we don't want our children and grandchildren to be in this similar situation. Nigeria would be great. We'll be one of the greatest nations in the world. But we have to start now. And every generation have responsibility to make for the future generation. And it's our time now to make this, to live to this responsibility. And if we are not given the chance to have our voices in decision making, then we are not empowered. And we will not tolerate, we will not allow that. We are going to the street, we are going to protest if we are not given the 30% affirmative action.
All right.
Youth participation.
Taking a stand and saying this is the time to turn things around here in Nigeria. I'm speaking with the chairperson, Commonwealth Youth Council, Ahmed Adamu, and Litu Bayo, a native of Katsina State, holds a BSc from Barrio University, Kano, and a PhD in economics from Newcastle University in the United Kingdom. Yeah. And it's been an interesting conversation with him. He's the first, actually, chairperson for the Commonwealth Youth Council, first Nigerian, first African, first ever. So from the conversation, I bet some of you understand why he won. Amongst 21 other delegates, really, you understand why he won. Well, let's look at... read some of the comments so far from people who are listening to our conversation. And Ona from Nyanya says, how do you affect lives in school? Sonny from Wuseto, I agree with your guest. To add to it, let the federal government pay a loan of 1 to 2 million to every NYC member that wants to start a self-employed skill job once they pass out of youth service, to reduce unemployment and to empower the youth. That's one thought. Let's quickly take a look at a few others. Let's see. Albert Ekwehe says, nice. He had a great challenge and he grabbed it. I pray he achieves all he mentioned and encourage other youth to participate in the current and trending business of today. So we move with time and not be left behind. And David says, actually, I'm very interested in this conversation. This is the first time hearing radio station discussing this. I don't know your name, but God bless you, young man. All right. His name is Ahmed Adamu, and I'm sure he just tuned in to hear that part of the conversation. Before we go to the phone lines, your thought about the NYC and his proposal, is it something we could work with? Given people who are interested.
I think the NYC is still part of the Ministry of Youth Development, because Ministry of Youth Development is made of 2 other institutions apart from the headquarters. We have the Leadership and Training Center, and we have the NYC. And under the headquarters, we have the development centers at regional levels. So the NYC itself is an incubation program where we breed so many and inculcate some discipline and morality and skills that people who finishes from schools, they don't have, but they need to learn some level of working experience. And that's something that we will not scrap. And that's why we said we don't necessarily need to give them much more investment or giving them more money. We can do, for example, whoever finishes from NYC and cannot get job, we can put him into the employer incentive program. Okay. And whoever has a business proposal, and we can give him a grant. For example, if an NYC co-member finish, he say, okay, I'm not going for a white-collar job. I have a business proposal I want to build in. And like he said, from the Consolidated Youth Development Fund, so we should allocate certain amount of money that will be given as a grant, not even a loan, to start
up the business.
Yeah, exactly. So, but sometimes you see a graduate finishes, but he has no idea. He has no business idea. And we usually read only to pass. And that's why at our university curriculum, we need to revisit and review the university curriculum so that graduates who are coming out, as they acquire the knowledge, they're also acquiring some skills. So that when they finish NYC, now they have already the idea. What they need is just put the plan. And once you can bring the plan, then the government will support you. I think it's a very brilliant idea, and that's Consolidated Youth Development Fund is the way that we can go about it.
All right, interesting. Well, let's get to hear from you. If you have any question for my guest in the studio, comment or contributions you want to make, you can always send messages. 32351 is our SMS portal. Don't forget 32351 ABJ 32351, or you can tweet at Nigeria Info ABJ, or leave your comment like others have done on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Nigeria Info ABJ. If you want to call live into the studio, then reach us on 094600-951. That's 094600-951, or 070-9850-4074 or 76, or 0809-5974-869. Our toll-free lines are 0803-123-0293 or 94, or call our smart number 08000A Nigeria Info. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, the lady with the golden voice.
How are you?
My name is Abdullah. See, let me quickly greet your guest. Yeah, I think he has really spoken well. But I want to quickly remind him that I have had the opportunity of at least going with most of these youth groups. And what I see in them is greediness. What I see in them is at least some very, parochial thinking ideas. What I see in them is they are not too prepared. What am I talking about? Where people have this kind of mentality of saying they always want to get money from this politician, or they always want to at least put certain sentiments up there that does not really go well. They are like barriers that will not always make us to go forward. Ethnicity and religion. See, and until some of all these things are properly killed in our minds, I think we will just continue to at least run around the bush and not getting the right at least framework. He talked about 30% most. See, the most he put there is going to be a difficult task. Although he said everything is possible in Nigeria, I want to agree with him to some extent.
Okay.
That he must have to at least work day and night to be able to at least put some of all these ideas in their wonderful perspective. Otherwise, these leaders we have now, they will continue to at least give us this depression and we will not get there.
All right.
The truth about it. I just want to salute him. Have a wonderful celebration. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Abdullahi. Hello. Sorry about that. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, you're welcome.
Good afternoon.
Please turn off your radio.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, let me do that. My name is Ifoma.
Ifoma.
Chuku.
Okay, Chuku, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to congratulate your guest for what he has doing.
Chuku, your radio is still on. Sorry, I would have to let you go. Please, when you call back, turn off your radio, okay? Hello? Hello? Okay, he doesn't... I'm sure he didn't realize it was on air. Hello?
Yeah, hello. Good evening.
You're welcome.
All right, my name is Odele Luwash.
Okay, go ahead.
I listened in. and I'm quite impressed. Speaker, little wonder is really sharp to Konya, at the youth of the country. Two things quickly. Number one, about the agreement, graduate of a play. One of the reasons I support it is because to produce and then the market around Nigeria determine your price as against you considering what you put into it, and then you can sell. So as a young person, as encouraged, you want to do well in life, but agric as it is today in Nigeria does not give you that kind of opportunity. That's number one. Two, the youth thing, asking youth, I think what's the problem with it? The first challenge is a lot of young people in Nigeria today, they consider leaving school and the next thing they are looking for prosperity, wealth, and money.
They want to just make money quickly.
Yes, they want to make money quickly. And based on that, believe it sincerely, even if you put them up there, they'll make a mess of it. Unless somehow they are made to understand that not everything is prosperity, but a good name will definitely bring prosperity. And the youth can invite this culture, probably from school, from home, wherever this can be, the channel. So the average Nigerian youth, believe me sincerely, the sky is just another stepping stone for any young person in Nigeria. Thank you very much. I'm quite impressed with the speaker. I say God bless you and God will take you to greater heights.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, you're welcome. Good afternoon.
My name is Kuchana.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. My contribution is I just want to ask this youth body, can one join this?
Can one join what's the youth body? Okay.
Does this Commonwealth
okay, Youth Council. All right.
Yes.
Okay, noted. He would answer that question shortly. And looking at more of your comments here, I want to ask Mr. Adamu. He has really spoken well, but we need more of youths like him to move this country forward. Okay, I want to say that he's spoken well and we need more youths like him to move this country forward. Oladero Amos from Gwagwalada sent that one in. And, well, let's take at least two more phone calls, then we'll go back to my guest. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am calling from Kabusa. My name is Chukwaba.
All right, Chuku, go ahead. Much clearer now.
I want to congratulate your guest. In fact, I am very, very glad with what he...
Oh, dear. Chuku, so sorry. The phone line's not just helping the matters at all this afternoon, but thank you for the attempt. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Francis.
All right, Francis.
All right. So I want to congratulate your guest. He has spoken well. The truth is that Nigeria, we youths, we really need to take our destiny in our own hands. So, and I think your guest, the platform is coming from, is a platform where we, the youths, can emulate what they've done so far.
Okay.
And feel can carry forward from where they stop what they are trying to speak about the youth development, how we can bring into our own system in Nigeria.
Okay.
Because we, the youth, we are the future leaders of this country, and we can't just allow it to. We have to start it now, not future, not in the future.
Okay. All right.
So I think that's my own contribution.
Thank you very much. And this, I don't know, the phone lines just went off, but I was going to take one more, which will be the last phone call, then go back to my guest. So let's this one be it then. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, you're welcome.
Is this my guest, man?
Yes, it is. 95.1 Nigeria Info. What happened? I bet he just wanted to confirm the number. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
All right, you're welcome.
Yep. Tim from...
All right, team, go ahead.
Oh.
Hello? Okay. It seemed like we're having a bit of problem.
The youth in Nigeria.
Okay. At least I tried with that one. Let's see if this one goes through. If it doesn't, that'll be it. So sorry for those who are calling. It seemed that we have a little problem with the phone line, so we just have to leave it at that and look at more of your comments just before we get to the guest. Mr. Ahmed, congratulations. And he's saying he's like, Kasina guys are truly working hard and are dedicated. This guy is the limit. Well, we actually had a Kastina guy who walked from Lagos to Abuja.
So the guy that is from Katsina?
Is from Katsina State. So, President-elect from Katsina State. So a lot.
But for me, I flown from London to Abuja. Yeah. I didn't trek. I flew.
He flew from London to Nigeria and Abuja.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your reaction to some of the calls and comments so far?
Someone talk about the major issue, which is greediness and lack of unity. But sometimes, like I was, when I was given the African Achiever Award in London, I said, sometimes young people are greedy, not because they want to be greedy, but because as a young person, as you are growing, your demands, your wants will be increasing in number. But the government is not there to support you. For example, if a young person is growing, he needs a house, and there is no housing policy to accommodate him. He does not have health care. He does not have access to quality education. And he needs to, in his house, he needs access to water, potable water, electricity, security, all things like, and so many other issues. But all these things are not provided. So he himself, he has to govern himself. He has to provide security, electricity, water, education, and name it. Everything, even transport. There's no public transport provided by government or private sector. So if you need to move from one place to another, you need to buy your own car. So this has increased your demands, your wants. So if you need to meet these things, which are basic things in life, you need to have money. I'm not saying to be greedy is the right thing. It's very wrong to be greedy and to be selfish. But sometimes the government is responsible for that. Because if a young person is provided with an affordable housing scheme, a comfortable and convenient public transport system, security, access to power, he only needs something to eat. So the level of greediness will reduce in the country. But because we are governing ourselves, we need more. And that's why we are serving, or even serving the rich people, respecting them unnecessarily. And the 30% affirmative action, like one of the caller mentioned, that is must. He thinks that we cannot achieve it, but I think we can achieve it. As the most there, we are going to capitalize it. We are going to underline it. So it's very, very important. We are not going to play soft on that. And the money quick also is related to the being greedy, because we have so many expectations and so many responsibilities coming on you. Your parents are becoming weaker and weaker.
To school. They expect you to stand on your own 2 feet.
So I think I'm not saying that it's the right thing, but I'm going to blame the government. If government has provided enough for the young people, and that will be the time where we blame them. But we as young people, we need to also endure. We need to sacrifice and dedicate toward our development. We need to shun any kind of greediness and selfishness. We must not be quick now. Rich now. We must not be rich now. We can be rich in some few years to come. It must not be now. So we have to avoid seeing the near future as bright. We have to endure, we have to sacrifice, we have to suffer sometimes. There's no shortcut to success. So, and someone talked about joining the Commonwealth Youth Council. Like I mentioned, we only deal with youth organizations. If he has organization, he can register his organization to the Commonwealth Youth Council, and then he become a member.
How does he go about it?
He go online. He can go online and get involved, and then register his organization. Okay. We have other youth thematic groups, which if he wants to join, depending on his area of profession. We have a thematic area on climate change. We have area on democracy and human rights. We have for students as well. There are all subsidiaries, or rather a thematic area where young people individually they can join. We have so many of them. We have Young Entrepreneurs Alliance as well. So if you visit the website, you will have more information there.
Okay then. And a quick one, the only way to review the university curriculum is to encourage entrepreneurship as a core subject. Someone's suggestion here. And the EduK says, your guest has spoken well, but Can he tell us how many youth and how many unemployed we have in Nigeria? And I remember that we have these youth in some positions in the past, but they failed us. That's Educate's thought. Bade from Suleja is, I have to congratulate your guest as a role model. My contribution is the government should invest more on youth empowerment through skills acquisition. Okay, thank you very much. And others are still hanging, but that's the much we can take. Quickly react to that before we leave.
Okay, yeah. So some we have tried, and there are very few of them. I think those that cannot represent what the young people in Nigeria are. They are better, responsible, and patriotic Nigerian young people. And if the right people are given the chance, and I believe with this new institution or the government coming on board, everybody must behave. Everybody must be patriotic, and we are not going to have corrupt people in this administration. So I believe we're not going to have similar kind of disappointment from the young people. And there's a promise that we are giving, and the young people will not disappoint us. And that's why I cannot tell him how many young people are employed or not employed, because I'm not the Minister of Youth Development of the country. So he should ask the Minister of Youth, how many young people are employed? How many jobs has he created or he helped create?
That's if they have
the indices.
Exactly.
And that's why we say we need the indices. We need the index that says this is the number of young people that do not have a job. And it's not everybody that have job that is okay. Some got the job, but they are underpaid, or the pay of the job is
so it's
not
like just living hand to mouth, waiting to get a real job.
Exactly. It's not enough. And I believe the curriculum needs to be flexible, and we can have regional specific curriculum. There are subjects that have been there for over 30 or 40 years. Some of the subjects are not relevant anymore, and there are more other curriculum or modules that we can bring now to the curriculum.
So we need to upgrade a lot.
To upgrade it, and we need to make it as flexible as possible. Because, for example, now we are threatened by the insurgency. How to promote social cohesion, understanding of people perception and misconception. We need to create a curriculum, or within the modules we have, add a syllabus that talk about people with this kind of twist minds and how to protect your environment, how to make your environment secure, things like that. If you're talking about unemployment, we have to bring about skills acquisition, like most of the commentators here are saying, that we need to bring about skills acquisition in our curriculum, so that when young people are finishing from secondary school, universities, they have skills to live on without waiting for white-collar job.
Interesting. So much said, and more of your comments coming in, but I'm afraid we can't take any more of them. Thank you so much for sending them, and I want to appreciate our guest for coming on the show to talk about youth, particularly here in Nigeria. I know that for some people they'll be worried. You have 28 countries. 53 countries, and it seemed like the emphasis is on Nigeria. Well, we understand. That's why people always want people from their constituency to always be somewhere, because you represent their interests alongside others. So we know that you put all of these things into consideration, and I hope that before your tenure expires, that we'll be able to have a formidable youth council, a more united youth body here in Nigeria.
I think this time around I just come to meet with some youth groups. And
how long will you be in the country?
I will leave tomorrow. I will leave the country first tomorrow morning, and I have to come back when there's something very serious. So we are putting some structures on ground at regional level, state levels, and then we come to the center. We are also proposing, one of our colleagues is proposing the reform conference, where young people will come and discuss about how are they going to reform themselves, reorient themselves, and come out with a very united voice for them.
All right. Okay, well, I wish you the very best in all that you're doing, and the plans for Nigeria and other countries also under your watch. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
I appreciate. My guest is the chairperson, Commonwealth Youth Council, Mr. Ahmed Adamu, and it's been a delightful conversation with him this afternoon. All right, people, the talk will continue here on 95.1 Nigeria Info. Keep listening.
95.1 Nigeria Info. Your preferred Nigerian station.
Stay with your number one talk station wherever you go.